afternoon, everyone. We're Team 5, and we're going to be presenting Chapter 3, Make the Most of Your Message. I'm Jenna. And as you can see, message is the third part of the AIM acronym. Much of what you try to remember, you quickly forget. The same is true for your audience. So you want to try to make your message as memorable as you can to help the audience retain the information that you're trying so hard to present for them. So when presenting, not only do you have to worry about how much the audience is going to forget, but you also have to worry about distractions. So when other people are trying to multitask and do other things, other people might be likely to follow suit. Like if someone's talking or texting, other people might do the same thing. According to Brain Rules author John Medina, when it comes to paying attention, multitasking is a myth. And we have a little picture saying, don't forget what we're saying. So, because if you're trying to multitask, you're not giving your full attention. And to make matters worse, when some members of the audience start texting or talking, you all know who you are. Others are likely to do the same, like I said. Given all these challenges, here's what you can do to hook the audience's attention. You want to start in a compelling way. You want to include a grabber that grabs the audience's attention and gets the interest of their eyes and ears. A good grabber can also be related to the subject and the topic. You also want to create a favorable impression. When you explain why you find your topic intriguing, you can convey your enthusiasm for the subject while giving the audience a reason to find it appealing too. You need to try to end with emphasis. Endings don't grab interest the same way that beginnings do. They are reminders that time is running out, so use these fleeting moments wisely to end by saying to wrap up, or let me end by saying. These phrases call attention to the points you're trying to reinforce as you end. Shine a bright light on key points to make certain points stand out. You can do this by flagging a soundbite. A soundbite is a fresh, crisp comment to grab the audience's attention and tell them to listen carefully. When you pair it with a flag, you can ensure your point will get heard. A flag is a pay attention to this signal, and it's reserved for special points. So by saying, here's what's critical, or if you remember nothing else, remember this, you can successfully flag a soundbite. Another way to emphasize a key point is to craft a relevant story to make your point relatable to the audience. And most importantly, you can create a star moment. A speaker who introduces a little drama can captivate an audience. Dramatizations well done can become a star moment, or something they'll always remember. Bill Gates once used a very well-publicized star moment by demonstrating malaria research and releasing mosquitoes into the audience. And we're going to play this Bill Gates star moment for you now.
For example, there's more money put into baldness drugs than are put into malaria. Now, baldness it's a terrible thing. And rich men are afflicted. And so that's why that priority has been set. But malaria, even the million deaths a year caused by malaria greatly understate its impact. Over 200 million people at any one time are suffering from it. Means that you can't get the economies in these areas going because it holds things back so much. Now, malaria is, of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here so you could experience this. We'll let those roam around the auditorium a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience. Those mosquitoes are not infected.
Well, it's a good thing they're not infected. That was definitely something the audience will always remember. However, since none of us are Bill Gates, it's important not to seem gimmicky by doing something too risky, otherwise it could damage credibility. Lastly, you want to analyze what gets attention and help your audience resist distractions by pointing out what's relevant, making an emotional connection, adding an element of surprise, finding a way to include the audience, engaging their senses, and creating some tension. Bill Gates made it easy to resist distractions by using his star moment. And now I will pass the presentation off to Visika.
Thank you, Jenna. Hello everyone, I'm Visika. Now that you know how to keep tension, we can focus on how to put it by structuring in an amazing way. make sure you always put the conclusions first because they are the big messages. The audience wants to hear. When conclusions come before the details, then audience have an easy time following the message. As you can see in this diagram, audience attention tends to be high at the beginning of presentation and end of presentation, so you actually have two good places to deliver your important message. Now let me tell you something about indirect method. When you use this method, save conclusions at the end, because this method is like a mystery story where it does not reveal the solution until the last minute. This method is harder to follow and it is more time consuming, so I personally suggest you guys to use this method when you really have to. You can use this method when some people strongly disagree with you or when you're presenting in different cultures. In some cultures, direct method might be used as an inappropriate way, so you want to use indirect method so that you can meet the cultural expectations. As an example, I would like to share my own personal story. This happened to me when I was in high school, and I was trying to adjust to a new U.S. culture. At that time. I made one of my coworkers cry because I told her something about her weight. I didn't know that weight can be such a sensitive subject to talk about it, so I felt really bad when I found out that. So you have to be careful when to use direct and indirect so that you can try to avoid the situations like I had. Take steps to improve recall. Make sure you don't overwhelm your audience with too much information. Instead, take small steps to help people connect the dots. Share the meaning before the details. Beginners and experts process information differently. Beginners struggle to remember small details, so you want to share the meaning first. Structure for retention. Like I said, use the direct method so the big ideas are up front, the sections are clear, and the supporting details are linked to an appropriate section. Explain the takeaway first. Make sure you share your concept, then go through all the details, examples, and evidence that support it. Make sure you always put clean titles on your visuals. These titles provide the context for all the details that appear on a page or a screen. Show them, don't just tell them, meaning that people remember pictures far better than words, so you want to use visuals like pictures or charts so that you can illustrate your points. However, don't add unnecessary pictures that are not related to your comment. If your message is important, don't be afraid to say it more than once. Always remember to include extra examples. Examples make abstract ideas concrete. So you have one of your ideas. If one of your ideas is important, then reinforce it with a few examples. Take breaks from new information. Whenever possible, stop the endless flow of new information and give people time to reflect what they have heard. As an example, you can schedule a break. It can either be a coffee break or a stretch break, or like high-tech breaks like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, so that people have some time to exchange information about the presentation. And thank you so much, guys. And now, Romina will cover the rest of the stuff.
Hi everyone, my name is Romina, and I'm going to talk to you about comparing presentation to other options. The first thing we're going to talk about is group meeting. Group meeting is something like right now that we have approximately 32 students here, and every single one of your goals are to pass the quiz I'm going to give you at the end of the presentation. And my goal as a presenter is to get feedback from you of how I did at the individual level and how we did as a group. The next one, the point that we're going to talk about is private conversation. This is best if you have 3 to 6 people in a group and they all cannot read at the same time. So you make a group leader and that person is going to talk to every single person on one-on-one conversation. That person can stress the concerns of an individual. That's a good sign. But the downside to that is that there's no group discussion, and also it takes a lot longer to go talk to every single person. The next topic is the ticket, for their hotel, for their car rental, and other expenses. So it can be very expensive to do that. And also, if they missed a meeting because now their flight got delayed or they actually missed their flight, now it's costing you some time. And to avoid this, the best thing is to have a Skype or a phone conference. For having a Skype, make sure that the camera is angled right and there's no distraction in the background. And when you're presenting a new idea, you want to see people's facial expressions. But unfortunately, you cannot do that over the phone. So the phone conference might not be the best thing for you. Alright, so our next topic is going to be using another medium with your presentation. I picked out slideshows because slideshows are very easy to make and they're fun and very effective. So if you would have Googled a picture and that can sum up everything that I was talking about for 5 minutes, that way you can look at that picture and recall everything we talked about in our presentation. But always remember, as a student, you can Google the pictures for free and put it on a slideshow, but for your job, you might want to cite them and actually pay for the copyright so you don't get sued and lose some money. The next one is handouts. Handouts can be very effective if you want them to follow directions and it's a step-by-step thing to do. That way they can take notes and follow along with you. Especially if you're an accountant and you want them to look at the whole ledger, then you don't want them to constantly doing this because it can be very distracting while you're standing up there presenting. And also that they can focus on you and what you have to talk about or say. The next one is Q&A. This is usually the last step that we cover, and it's basically there to get feedbacks from everyone, and anyone can have a question and talk about their point of view and give you some ideas of how you can improve yourself or how you can lower the cost or increase the profit of the company. But unfortunately, we are not going to have a Q&A for this particular presentation, but I'm going to have Jenna come up here in a little bit and read the quiz questions to you guys. And I want to thank every single one of you guys for listening, and good luck on the quiz.
Alright, everyone, to wrap up, I'll be providing the quiz questions. What does the M stand for in the AIM acronym? 2, according to Brain Rules author John Medina, when it comes to paying attention, multitasking is a what? 3, something to always remember creates a what moment? 4, by pointing out what's relevant, making an emotional connection, adding an element of surprise, finding a way to include the audience, engaging their senses, and creating some tension, you can make distractions easy to what? 5, last but not least, list 2 things that technology saves. Thank you, and